welcome back to the second hour of 8-Bits. I'm djWHEAT, joined by itmeJP and our special guest this week, Giant Bomb. We got Brad Shoemaker. Brad, once again, thanks for joining us for today's program.
Yeah, thanks
We just got done with our first 3 bits, and now we're going to be moving on to our fourth one, and that is next-gen pre-order updates. And a lot of people, of course, were very interested about this whole concept because we knew that there was a potential they were going to release around the same time. And, you know, with the prices, a lot of people, especially in the economy that we're in, have to make a choice. So JP was doing a little bit of research on this, and I found a couple articles where they had updated. Also, I follow Cheapy D over at Cheap Ass Gamer. He's been updating a little bit about the pre-orders that he's seeing through his site. But JP, what do you have to report on this?
So Polygon reported, and this was earlier in the week. So this, I mean, who knows what happened after the Xbox news came out? But
right.
GameStop has already hit their Xbox One launch caps, which it's interesting to me to hear that first off. But if you go deeper in the story, there was a store manager in California that says that they were only given an allocation of 16 Xbox One per store, but 60 PlayStation 4s, and that they were still taking orders on the PS4s and not sold out. And this was on June the 19th, so 2 days ago, which I think it's interesting that I'm sure that that's probably just like the Call of Duty kids from the Xbox 360. Like, hey, it's a new Xbox console. We don't really know any of this news that's going on with the DRM stuff. Like, why not just pre-order the console? It's the next new thing, right? And they, of course, if you compare like this current gen PSN versus Xbox Live, like, of course you're going to go with Xbox Live, right? It's so much better. So it shows that like those conferences meant a lot, but it didn't mean too much, apparently, because we still have Xboxes selling out across the nation.
How much is it about inventory? And this is something I could ask Brad about, because like that was the first thing that popped in my head. Like, wow, you know, a lot of who could win this is who could provide the most upfront inventory, because if one fails, then it's very likely the other one will get picked up as a result.
Yeah, you go to the store and they're out of Xboxes, but they've got the PS4, and you've heard some great stuff about that. And it's, you know, $100 cheaper. It's like maybe you decide to just jump into that. It's hard to say. I mean, there's been that persistent rumor about Microsoft having yield problems on the APU in the Xbox One. I don't know if that's impacting the amount that they can supply at launch. I mean, they're both going to sell out. You know, they'll both eventually start being able to meet demand. So, I mean, I think that the real battle is in the long term over, you know, digital distribution and stuff like that. But it could make a difference up front, yeah.
I'm super excited for when these things actually ship, and in that week of just like watching, of course, obviously playing it, but just watching them like see if they sell out, see if it's going to be like how the Wii was when that first holiday season, where you had like these fucking apps on your phone of like checking if stores around you had them in and all that crazy shit that came with that. Because I actually have one pre-ordered this time, so I'm not going to be that idiot checking these fucking apps. But that's what has me most excited is just the buzz around these things. And Christmas this year is going to be crazy, just because of, like, it's a new console season, man. It's going to be... I'm super excited for that, and I can't wait to see how it goes.
I can't wait to see all the jockeying for position that goes on around release dates. You know, they're not going to release on the same day. Like, that's insane.
I hope they do, Brad.
The PlayStation date got leaked, right? Which is, well, there was a picture,
right,
that was posted from a Media Mart. I believe it's from Europe. I could be wrong about that, but it said November 13th, 2013.
Huh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is before Black Friday, which sets itself up for Black Friday sale. I pretty much considered that November for Microsoft, they would try to do the same thing. So do they now go for the week before? Does it come out the week? Because the next week is the week before Black Friday.
Yeah, yeah, you know? That's the deadline, obviously.
Crazy.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, they have to be out before Black Friday, right?
Right,
yep, absolutely.
Right.
Part of me, I live very close to a Fry's and to a couple Best Buys. Part of me on launch day just wants to drive around and like look at the crowds that have formed for these systems. Well, like, that's so interesting to me to see that shit.
Console releases around the holidays are already hardy enough.
Yeah.
They're already so the initial rush of a console. Is there even going to be inventory?
Yeah.
For Black Friday? Fuck, I don't know. I don't know.
I think unless they can get follow-up shipments out there, I don't think so, because
God.
people are so starved for these things. Unless, like you said, unless the weak economy really comes into play here. Obviously the Wii U didn't do that well, but the Wii U is kind of its own thing. It's been 6-7 years since these consoles last iterated, so I think people are just so hungry for them, they're just going to get out there.
Yeah, I was excited for the Wii U, and then I went to Walmart and stood in line with one other person and picked it up and went home the night of. There was no one fucking there.
It's so it's like such an anticlimax. It's like nobody else wants this thing. I guess I don't either.
Yeah. That was kind of a sad moment, but with how Black Friday has just been in recent years and like how crazy it's gotten with consumers just fucking shoving the shit out of people and there's actual deaths that occur in some of these stores because people are just crazy. Like
online Black Friday is where it's at for me, man.
It's Cyber Monday and everything, man. It's crazy.
I have friends that do that and just look at them.
I did it once.
I'm gonna eat a turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Put in a movie and pass out while you're fucking miserable for the next 5 hours. So have fun.
I did it like 2 years ago. I went to a Walmart at 5 a.m. when they opened. Now they just open like Thanksgiving night. I think they've just kind of even pushed it further. But that was insanity, dude. I've never seen people so like
rabid and just
so focused on like getting those doorbuster deals of like a 50-inch TV for like $400 or something like that. Just like insanity where grown men and women are running for these fucking things, like shoving the shit out of each other, and I'm just like, this is actually happening. This is like real life in front of me occurring. And that's just a spectacle in itself. So I might just drive around and like kind of spy on some of these things when they actually start shipping, which it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Then I'll just wait for Amazon to get mine the day of. If I can sit at home.
Walk to your mailbox. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of time still between now and when those things come out, and the landscape could change quite a bit. If one or both of them comes up with a subsidy for the console, like a lot of people have been speculating, that could drastically change the conversation. If Microsoft says, "Hey, sign up for 2 years alive and you get this thing for $199,"
that would be crazy. Yeah,
we'll see how that stuff goes.
That'd be smart as shit by them, by the way. So. All right, fifth bit, and this is something, Brad, you guys talked a little bit about over at Giant Bomb before, and we've been seeing more of a trend as JP goes into Final Fantasy XIV. We're kind of talking about subscription models. It also fits into how we see more games and companies going into these rolling betas that eventually lead to like free-to-play experiences. So, question is kind of a discussion piece to put out there, but subscription MMOs, are they dead? Is the rising trend of free-to-play and microtransactions and using boosts within a game but giving the ultimate freedom to everyone the way to maximize players but still be able to try to maximize your revenues and not rely on a subscription model to do it? So an article goes along with this that JP found that basically the Final Fantasy Online director defends the monthly subscriptions.
Man, that article,
it is
super... It's the actual online director, and he kind of goes point by point of why Final Fantasy XIV is a subscriber-based model, and like with what he says in that interview, and to kind of dumb it down and break it down. Basically, what he's saying is that when you have these free-to-play games, you never actually know how much money you're going to make on a monthly basis, and this is something that I kind of relate to. Obviously, being like a Twitch streamer is my main source of income, like. You never know how much money you're going to make from ad revenue. You'd rather have those subscribers on Twitch so you know that you're going to make X amount of dollars each month, regardless of whatever else you're making. So he basically says, like, as developers, if you can't actually know what you're going to make on a month-to-month, then how do you pay your actual devs to create something new coming out, right? Like, how do you properly manage that? And he said that that's the one advantage that subscriber-based models have, is that you can count on that money on a month-to-month basis, because they're not going to just cut in half for whatever reason on 1 month to the next. You can know what you're going to make. And he says that's a lot of reason why. I think he references the Star Wars Knights, or not Knights of the Old Republic, whatever the Star Wars MMO is called, that it went free to play, and everyone's kind of using that as a
staple example.
Like an arguing point. And then he's like, and then you ask those people if they're actually playing it, and the answer is no. And he also puts in the fact that, like, if you're paying for a game month to month, you feel like you are supposed to be playing that, right? If it's free to play,
Right.
you have no incentive to log in because you're not actually paying for it, and that's just another reason. So I thought it was a pretty interesting interview with them. I'll post the article here in chat on Twitch. It's over at venturebeat.com. I think it was like an exclusive interview or something. But what do you guys think? Because besides WoW and Final Fantasy, everything else has gone free to play. So what do you guys think?
I could see how they would be a little squeamish about trying something risky like that because, Square is a big, old, publicly traded company, and they've got quite a few fiscal difficulties of late.
Right.
They're not in a great place. And they're very traditional. They're a Japanese company, which is typically where you see a heavy reliance on traditional models. But it still strikes me as kind of an outmoded way of thinking.
It definitely is like an old way of thinking that. He goes into the fact that you have to answer to like stockholders and whatnot, and that Blizzard and Square actually don't have to do that because their game is actually funding their development team, right? It's not someone else putting the bill up for it to move forward because you can't actually know what you're going to make each month. And I thought that was pretty interesting too, that besides Blizzard and Square, like no other team is actually doing that. They're all getting funds probably from their investors as well as whatever they're selling on their free-to-play models. So,
I mean, MMOs have always been part dice throwing, a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing, and obviously, it all comes down to the success of the game overall. And as you mentioned, there's no way to predict something like that. And even some of the games that are popular today, I don't know if people thought that they were going to be popular. Obviously, WoW sort of set a template that many people tried to follow past that. But I think I remember Lord of the Rings being the first game to kind of go, shit, people aren't playing our game. So let's
went
just
free to play and it got
let's just open it up. And it got really big.
I was playing at that time. I was playing Lord of the Rings when it went free to play, and it was like you logged off the night where they were flipping on the Switch, and you logged in the next morning, and there was a billion more people running around in the city. It was like playing a whole new game.
So, as a consumer, I am way more apt to go, yes, I will download this game and try it. And you know what? Hey, I like it. I'll throw $10 into it. If that means because as I get older, I see, if I'm going to put time into a game like that, anything I can do to actually give me that little bit of advantage because I can't necessarily be grinding combat or monsters and whatever, I might take it if I enjoy the game. I feel like as I will willfully spend money in that way as long as I don't have to make an upfront purchase and commit to a subscription. I mean, how many MMOs have you guys played where you bought the game, paid for that, got that free month, and then beyond that it was done? Because I know my list is really freaking high.
Yeah, I can count 2 or 3. I mean, I did that with Star Wars when it first came out. What else was there? I did that with Rift when it first came out.
Shit. Anarchy Online, Conan, fucking every goddamn bad MMO that I hope to install that was as good as WoW,
Conan was probably, in terms of just launch fun that you could have in that game, when you could kick people off of the mountains with horses. That was probably the most fun I've ever had playing an MMO. Aside from
making a pretty strong case for that game,
sitting on the ridiculous. The one bridge in the entire game.
Yes.
With your horse and just like, oh, here comes another one. Just punching them.
Yeah.
Hang on, going to download Age of Conan.
But that novelty wore out.
Fun, it wore out the first week or the first month. And then there was some other stuff too. Like I remember the Temple of Set or whatever. You could cast these totems. And there was no limit to how many totems you could cast, and you could stack them. So like I would have like 50 totems stacked, and they just attack anything that comes in their little area. So you'd put it right outside of a town, and since the entire game is PvP, you'd have like one person just like idly walking by, and they'd die in like 1 second, and just start cussing you out. God. I got like 400 or 500 kills in like the span of an hour, and I just had a macro running. I was just sitting there giggling the entire time. It was so fun.
But so once you had your fun with that, like that was one of the games that had kind of an issue with in-game content,
there was nothing.
Right?
Oh God!
You kind of got your free month, and then you were basically done, right?
Done.
There was nothing else to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
would
it
I
was
have played it
terrible
beyond
in-game.
that free month? I don't know, because it didn't necessarily have that in-game content up front, which I think also makes a big case for a game like WildStar, who's like, yo, we are going to release the most complete-ass game. It'll take you guys forever to get there, but when you guys get there, there will be content for you.
Yeah.
Different
And WildStar looks
strategy,
cool, by the way.
different approach.
I
It
think it's
does.
cool.
It does look neat. Are they going free to play, or they're not monthly subscription, right?
I think they are free to play, or
Okay.
they plan to go free to play. I mean, I think it's still really early on. They just announced beta recently.
I think they have a hybrid. One of the
Okay.
well, I'm
where
trying
you
to find
can
it.
it's free to play, but if you sub, you get a certain extra something or other.
This says, I will say that it's a hybrid model. This was apparently they asked the Jeremy Gaffney.
People are saying in chat it hasn't been decided yet.
Yeah, so it looks like
So.
it's still to be seen. But, you know, I do think the face of MMOs is changing a lot. Obviously, we have like a new MMO every week coming out of Korea and China. That really saturates the market over there. But I do feel like there is an open space for a new World of Warcraft to hit. Like, people obviously want it. I think people are really spread out amongst different games, which is probably better for all these different game systems. But, you know, really, what do I know, considering that I feel like they haven't released a good MMO since Ultima Online?
I think it has to be dramatically different, though, right? I mean, people have tried again and again to replicate that success, and nobody's even come
Yeah.
close because to a large extent they just kind of keep making the same game. You know,
It
like
is the same game with a different skin. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That was kind of the big problem with the Old Republic. Everybody was like, "Oh, Star Wars MMO, this is going to be amazing,"
Right.
and then it was sort of the same thing with lightsabers. So, like,
Which
I don't
was
know.
cool
Yeah.
for the first 30 levels.
Right.
What was
right.
there's a lot of buzz about the new EverQuest from
Yeah, so I was the
E3?
one that told you about this, that no one knows what the fuck EverQuest Next is. It showed up at the SOE fanfare that they had, and the devs literally came out and were like, guys, we're doing something revolutionary, but we're not going to show you anything. We're just going to say it's awesome. And everyone's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? And then last week, MMORPG.com was doing their, or I guess it was this week, they announced kind of their best in shows and whatnot, and the best in show overall was EverQuest Next, and they were apparently shown this behind closed doors for a 2-hour demo that no one really knew it was there. And they said, this is our best in show. We can't tell you why. Granted, it's an MMORPG.com site, so obviously, like, that's going to be probably
Right.
what they're most interested in. But, like, what?
Their-
I don't even know
their,
what that
their
is.
sales pitch is that they're changing what an MMO is.
Yeah.
MMO means something now, and it means the same thing to everyone because it's the same game. Everyone uses the core loot gameplay, which is kill stuff, get reward, get loot, level up. Very few games is broken out of that mold. One or two have. EVE Online is a great example. It's not a standard level-based system. So in EverQuest Next, the world itself is a part of the game. I mean, guys, sounds like he's pitching Ultima Online to me.
Yeah, I mean, if they do something revolutionary with the MMO system, like, I still think that the most fun I've had gaming in the past 10 years has been within an MMO world. Like, nothing can replicate, like, logging in, being in a guild, having a ton of people, and like, hey guys, let's go do this dungeon, or let's go kill this raid boss with 30 other guys. Like, that is a unique MMO only feeling that you can really get. So if they somehow still have that same feeling and it's a brand new world or brand new thing, a brand new MMO or version of that, like, I'm totally in. But I don't know what you can do in that world that hasn't already been done, right? It's so
Freedom.
it's been explored.
Freedom is the one, like, this is why I'm such a hard ass when it comes to it, because, and again, I mean, people are going to be like, shut the fuck up, but Ultima Online gave you
No, I'm right there with you,
freedom.
dude.
Like, it gave,
Yeah.
no other game has attempted to say, you know what? We're just going to give you freedom. Like, that's the feature of the game. That's what I want. I want to be able to have no rules, no boundaries, and that's what every MMO has done since EverQuest 1. Is basically has created boundaries that I now have to play within. WildStar looks like it's really looking to let you stretch those boundaries, but ultimately there was nothing like the experience that was just ultimate freedom in Ultima Online to do whatever you
And a
want.
lot of people are scared of that amount of freedom, right? Because they look at that and they're like, what do I do? Like, I'm going to walk over. Oh, fuck, I just got killed. Like, fuck this game.
That's exactly what it is. You know, they're trying to protect the less hardcore of their player base and not scare them away. You know, I mean, a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, they're making games for babbies or whatever." But I wonder with the ascendance of stuff like Dark Souls and DayZ, like these super rigorous games where you really have to fight to survive, if maybe that kind of Wild West mentality of UO from back in the day might actually come back in that space.
If they make like a, if they just make DayZ and it's better without hacks, like I'll play that game all goddamn day, man. That game is the level of tension and like the chance of you turning a corner and dying for good makes that game like so fun to play with friends, because even your friends can just kill you, right? Like you can be, and that's kind of the same thing that's so cool to read about EVE Online is there's like real fucking spies that infiltrate like these giant conglomerates, and they fuck the entire conglomerate over by like stealing all of its money or something like that. Like that is so cool. That is so cool.
It's I mean the core of that experience is that there's real risk. There's a real chance of drastic loss, and that's what creates tension, and tension makes things fun.
Sounds more than anything like we just are looking for the MMO evolution, which I think everyone is sort of looking for.
What you just said about this EverQuest business, like that's what I've been waiting to hear since WoW. That's why I haven't gotten into another one of these games, because they just kept making the same thing I already spent 2 years of my life on. So they're talking a big game. We'll see if they can actually bring it or not.
They're going to show it in August, is what they've said. So that's when the big reveal is. I think there might be like an SOE fanfare in August. I'm not too sure.
That's what I was about to ask, because I know they have like some pretty popular and potentially super duper nerdy.
Yeah, those are like BlizzCon on crack. Those are like
for reals, man. Like you got to understand, these are guys that have been grinding rats and EQ1 since fucking beta.
PlanetSide 2 had a big thing there as well at the last one. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. To get back to, I guess, the very original point, like I don't think subscription-based MMOs are dead. I think it's just hard to. You have to make people feel like it's worth paying that money. And for WoW, the subs have obviously been declining. I mean, that's a news story every other month now that they've got X amount of subs less than the month prior. So I don't know. I guess it's up to the developer, really. If they make a game that's worth it, maybe Final Fantasy will be that game, or maybe it's going to be a 1 month and done situation. We'll have to see.
Sword Art Online. Totally virtual immersive MMOs. Get on it. We're almost there. The technology is coming. So all right, let's do number 6. Post E3 items. A lot coming out of there. Maybe some things that were skipped over even when when we were kind of discussing some of the hot topics that went. But one of the things we just have to talk about, especially since I'm a big mobile guy, love my tablets, love my my iPhone, etc. But there was a lot of buzz about the smart glass and tablet integration into games. And other than The Division, in the last week, we never really talked that much about, is this a novelty thing? Is this something that is just a big sort of, look at us do this at E3, but then we'll never fan out? I think back, earlier we were talking about dresses, and I think back to the vaporware of this previous generation that really... It hurt me bad that we never got to see it. And if you guys remember the original Kinect demo videos, there was a girl who was using the Kinect to like move dresses back and forth and then try different dresses on, and this was all done with a friend. Well, obviously I was always upset that never made it in. But now we have smart glass and tablet integration. Is this the next dress selector? For the next-gen console systems.
Oh God,
that's a tough question to answer. I think about the way I use stuff. The way I sit on my couch and play games or mess with my iPad or whatever, and I don't see myself sitting there looking at a giant screen and then immediately just like looking down to like. I want to do stuff on the big fancy screen that I'm looking at already. I don't necessarily want to just to satisfy some.
Clearly, Brad, you got to go buy a 40-inch smart glass TV. Then,
obviously,
what are you doing?
They just need to put out that touch screen coffee table they were showing a few years ago. Yeah, and it'll be all good. So sorry just to expand on that, I saw like a 20-minute or so demo of Dead Rising 3 at E3 that was a lot longer, more in-depth stuff. That game has a lot of smart glass tablet-y stuff in it. And the way they characterized it, which was interesting to me, was that in the studio when they're playtesting, it's not guy playing game and also messing with the tablet to call in airstrikes and stuff, which is one of the things you can do. It's that they're using it more as a co-op thing where the guy's playing the game and one of the other people at the studio is sitting there with the tablet, like, because you can call in supply drops, you can mark things on the map, you can do all these little kind of ancillary things that help the guy playing the game, but it's not one person trying to manage multiple things. It's somebody else, sitting there and sort of enhancing the experience, and that's kind of a more interesting way to look at it for me.
Did you guys happen to see the Watch Dogs integration that they're trying to do with the smart glass stuff? I thought that was like the coolest integration that I saw at E3. So basically what it is it's kind of the same thing. Like, you can be playing Watch Dogs and say you need help, but it's kind of the co-op thing. Like, the way that they said it would work, and there was you saw some of this, but the guy would be on the tablet, he could look to see where you're at in the world, to go in, and he could be the one that, like, makes the things come up to block the cars, the little girders or whatever, or turns out all the lights and stuff like that. The cool thing was that on a billboard is you could go into your tablet, click on the billboard, type something, and it'll show up in game as like something that's typed up.
That's cool.
Up top. So I think like some guy typed like you're good to go now or something like that, and you saw like this billboard, which was an advertisement, just flashed to alt text. It was like those zombie warning signs on the highway or whatever.
I like that.
And it just popped up like "Go now," and that was pretty fucking cool. That was pretty cool.
Do you guys see a comparison into obviously Wii U's feature of having the screen on the controller? I don't know how much you guys have screwed with it. It's been one of the technologies that surprised me a little bit, but it's also a part of the controller. And I'm with Brad, like, a controller, a tablet, and a phone or whatever, however they're going to have me integrating with myself or with buddies. I'm not convinced yet that this is...
No one's really made a good case for it except for maybe Zombie U. I think they've probably done the best.
Lego City Undercover does some pretty damn cool.
What are they doing in it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of missions where, like, I'm thinking, like, there's a bank robber mission where you go in and then you see, like, an overview and it tells you which things you have to defuse first. And, sometimes when they like, beep you in on the communicator, your communicator is actually the iPad itself. And the Lego games are actually funny and really witty, so it helps that exists. But, aside from that, my favorite integration is in Nintendo Land, when like my kid is like the guy that has to run away in the Mario Chase game, and you see his face, on the screen, and just just absolutely. But beyond that, I haven't seen a game or nothing has made me go, God, I can't wait to try out that integration. Only said, oh, that looks cool if it actually works. But I really have a feeling that this is a sort of a next gen. I love the integration. I love it, but I don't know how many people will run with it.
Sure. What do you think, Brad?
It feels like, that's kind of been the history of all of these peripheral add-ons for games forever, right? Like going back to Kinect and go back to the Power Pad on the NES if you want, like they never find a way to like deeply integrate this stuff into like games across the board. It's more like, they work with the handful of games they're designed for, but it's never... It's rarely anything that you couldn't replicate on a controller. That was the problem with like motion controls on the Wii. Like all the stuff they would have you doing in a Mario game with motion, you could just as easily hit a button to activate. It's not something that is really tailored to the feature. So it feels like that is happening again here. So hopefully somebody will prove us wrong.
And maybe with Microsoft including the Kinect 100% in every console, like maybe that'll be something that you start to see in every game out there. Some sort of voice activated commands in game. I mean, trying to think back, like what games have actually done that well, and nothing comes to mind. Right. So I don't know what they could do with it.
I mean, hopefully, it's obviously it's not to us to figure that stuff out. Some brilliant game designer will come up with like the defining feature for it. But so far it's stuff like Dead Rising. Like you can elect to do this to get zombies off of you instead of hitting a button. If that seems interesting, I don't know.
It'll probably be an indie game dev that is the one that figures something cool out, right?
Totally.
I think those guys have the most creative ideas.
Yeah, of course. Then Microsoft runs into the problem of you've got the Kinect hardware, but the indie devs can't get onto your platform. So we'll see how that stuff goes.
I'm still of the belief that it's just a tech that's not ever going to be. Like
it's always going to be like a cool thing.
But the fact that it's even required for like this upcoming generation, and that did
you guys see the PlayStation Eye integration with the PS1? Did you see a demo on that? I watched. There was a
the old school
No, for the PS4. For the PS4.
Oh,
so
no.
There was, I think it was not. It was Gizmodo, I think, is who I saw the video from, and it was kind of a demo with the PlayStation Eye, and like the light sensor on the PlayStation controller serves as like this augmented reality point where the menu basically comes from that, and it tracks pretty one-to-one on the controller.
Wow.
And like you'd hit a button and like augmented reality shit would happen in front of you. These little robots would come up, and like you can use the controller to like suck them up and then put them back out by like flinging them on the little touchpad. And that was like, that's cool, but it's
They're
like
tech demos, man. They're like, hey,
yeah, that's
this
all it is.
neat.
Like, where is that going to be shown in a game, or where's that going to be used, right?
Yeah.
So the one place that I'm genuinely excited about this stuff is in the just the basic interface stuff, like the things Microsoft showed at their first reveal, where you can just like whip around in the dashboard with like Minority Report hand motions and stuff. Like, I'm legitimately interested in stuff like that. You know, like I don't need to like knock zombies off myself with my arms, but if I can get around in the basic interface faster, then that's actually cool.
How much should we hate Minority Report for, or how much should Microsoft hate Minority Report for like spoiling Kinect and like making that like the thing to always aspire to have that moment, right? Because now that's what everyone compares it to.
Especially because they keep trying to nail that and missing the mark, you know, like they haven't actually replicated what they did in that movie yet.
Yeah. I don't know.
Close. I don't know. All I know is that my Kinect over there, I just dusted it off a few like last week, and I was like, my God.
I'm glad I never bought one. I almost bought one, and then one of my friends had one at the time, and I just played his. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not buying it for Dance Central 2.
It's hard. It's hard to beat a good controller, man.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like they've been working well for 30+ years.
The fact that the Kinect was used as a gimmick in Paranormal Activity 4 pretty much shows that it's gone way past its gaming potential already. It's trying to be an actor, and we'll see how that goes. Our number 7, before we go to some open discussion, who needs buttons? This is our mobile check-in. This week in mobile was actually pretty bland, but there was one major release that is getting a lot of buzz and a lot of noise, and that's XCOM Enemy Unknown, released on iPad and iOS. I think it's iPad only this week. Yeah. It's a $20 game, but it is the full game. It's a true
That's just crazy to me, man.
AAA title brought to the iPad, and because if you've played XCOM Enemy Unknown, you know that the touch controls are actually perfect for the game. But the reason why people are so excited about the game is because they feel like if the success of XCOM Enemy Unknown is good, that potentially we will start seeing more AAA title ports. We had the recent Deus Ex announcement for Square Enix. Even some of the mobile-specific publishers are starting to get really good with their graphics engines and what they're able to do. So, unfortunately, I've bought XCOM twice now, like on a console and on a Steam sale. I'm not really sure I'm interested in a third time, so I feel like I've got to maybe encourage someone else to check it out, because I do hope it does well. But everyone that's touched it and played it just said it's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if I could play XCOM on an airplane or in commute to somewhere, like, sounds pretty awesome to me. $20 is maybe a little bit steep because I have obviously like played it on consoles and beaten it already, but I want to know, I want to see more and like actually see someone playing it, because there's so many ways for that to fuck up, right? Like, if they don't have like movement confirms or anything like that, if they just basically ported it straight up, then I can already see some issues.
The best thing that people have said is how well the touch controls are intuitive for the game, and you sort of know how to play it. I think that's a really large compliment to the game, is that someone who played XCOM said, I actually just knew what to do. And maybe that's other games sort of training ahead of time. But again, I'm more interested in that portion of it because I know it's a good game. I know it's got great gameplay. But
I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing you can say about a game like that being ported from one platform to a very different platform. Is just that they pulled it off. It's seamless. You don't have to think about it. You just play it. I pulled it up in the App Store yesterday, and it was like, I mean, I know, we named that our game of the year last year. Right? Like, I know exactly how great that game is, but I had this brief moment, like this involuntary response to seeing 1999 in the App Store, where it's like, this game is totally worth 3 times that, but still, it's just something about the expectation of pricing in the App Store. And I hope that doesn't hurt them with that audience that is coming there expecting like 99-cent games, you know?
That is
Well,
still.
I'm sure they've already made their money on it, right? I'm sure this is just extra at the end of the day. I can't recall sales on XCOM or how well it did out there.
I think it did really well. I mean, I think that while I would love to see more AAA titles, that Brad hits a huge point. Is that like anything above $6.99 on the App Store automatically seems like, wait a second, why am I not playing this on my Vita, my 3DS, or Xbox or PS3, whatever? So there's definitely some hesitation there. One of the things that I really love about some of the mobile strategies that people are doing is they just let you download the game, and then you play through a campaign, and then the in-app purchase allows you to get it for the $19.99.
That's such a smart way of doing things, just across the board.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that you're not going to be able to just say, here's our free 1.6 gigabyte game. Like download it, and then hopefully you'll buy the $9.99 to unlock. So I think that's a little harder strategy here, but it has been very successful for a lot of games recently. There's probably still some discovery to be done by these companies and how well and how to price these, and is there a different model aside from just asking for all that money up front?
Yeah, and especially with a game like this that was designed as a complete $60 package to begin with, if you try to adapt that into that model, it's all of a sudden it's a lot more work for some designers to find a way to chop it up, and start charging for piecemeal parts of it. So
yeah. So there was one other thing I wanted to talk about regarding mobile, because this is just something that, like, in the terms of items getting pulled from app stores. There's a lot of stuff we hear about, like this flashlight app was actually disguised as a tethering, tool, or it was disguised as a SNES emulator, and those are always those super awesome ones because if you get them, you can own them forever. But once they're off the store, they become impossible to get. So in December of 2012. A really highly anticipated release of Baldur's Gate came out for the iPad. It's basically Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. So this week, the app, after being out since December, almost 6 months, got pulled. And the reason it got pulled is due to, quote-unquote, contractual issues. And I'll tell you what, like, I follow a lot of iOS news and stuff, and I have no idea what that could even mean. Is it a licensing issue? Did some devs not get paid? Is there, publisher-developer relationship? I'm not sure. But I just found this to be pretty interesting.
Baldur's Gate is such a weird one because so many companies have been mixed up in that franchise over time. I mean, it was, if I remember, I think it was an Interplay release originally, right?
Yes.
That sounds right, yeah.
And Interplay, like, who knows what the shambling corpse of Interplay is at this point. It's like one guy in a closet somewhere, like, going through, copyright materials or something. I can't remember who's got the D&D license now. I want to say, I think Atari might be.
Doesn't Wizards of the Coast have that?
Well, they own, or they bought TSR, so yeah, they have D&D, but they license it out. Atari was putting out D&D games for a long time, and I think maybe still has that license in the game space specifically. So.
Well, was SSI a part of TSR?
I'm not sure. The old gold box guys.
Yeah,
I can't remember. That's kind of, that illustrates the point, I guess, of like how complicated all this stuff has gotten over the last.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I mean we're talking what, a 15-year-old game at this point.
SSI to Mindscape. So wherever Mindscape went.
I think they're gone, or they got bought. Like all these companies have been like acquired or gone bankrupt so many times. It's really hard to keep track of all this stuff.
That shit, yeah.
Yeah. It does. I mean, it kind of raises an interesting point about curating these old games, and trying to bring them back with like the good old games and services like that are trying to keep all these games alive. Like sometimes the business end of it gets so sticky that it's hard to do.
Yep. Yeah. Other than that, on the mobile front, Solstice Arena has still been keeping my interest. I mean,
I still haven't played it.
It's totally awesome, man. I mean, a couple guys in chat said I've gotten addicted to it, but like I said, I just will play 5 minutes here and feel totally satisfied. So it's a MOBA, Brad, for the iOS. Have you heard of this? The Zynga MOBA. It's called
Brad.
It's called Solstice.
Look at his eyes light up.
Yeah, it's called Solstice Arena, and it's called.
Actually, I have heard that.
Yeah, it's a speed MOBA, and it truly is. Like my fastest game is 2 minutes and 31 seconds, and my longest game has been like 13 minutes. So it's just all killing. No farming, all killing.
Is it good?
It's actually really good, yeah.
Oh, no.
Check it
Giant
out.
bomb guys
It's
are
fun
going to
as
put a
hell.
hit out on you, Wheat. What
It's
have you
fun
done?
as hell, man.
Huh.
And you know what's even better? When you're playing with like 3 guys, you just will fucking crush everyone. You will just be like, God, we need to go pro in this. But it's pretty good, man.
I don't make a habit of
Solstice
playing.
Arena is what it's called. So
I don't make a habit of playing a lot of Zynga games, but I might have to go check that out.
Hey, it surprised me, man. Yeah. So.
My one other mobile game news is I did actually purchase, and now I'm just blanking on the name. I had in my fucking head for 99 cents. What is the game with the fucking blade? Infinity Edge.
Infinity Blade.
Infinity Blade. Yeah, Infinity
2.
Blade 2 is 99
yeah.
cents this week.
I thought about grabbing that yesterday. I saw that.
Yeah, because I
I've never
enjoyed the
gotten around
first
to
one so
trying it.
much.
Yeah.
Or not in. I got hooked on the first one so much, and then was like, "Fuck this game." And so I heard the second one was good.
A game that came out like 2 years ago, JP.
Yeah,
Like, come on, man.
Look, I never bought it because it was like $5. I was
It's
like,
I think it's been $7. Yeah.
yeah. So I
It's,
might get it.
I always have a little bit of a bone to pick with those games because the guys that make Infinity Blade made Shadow Complex before.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always wanted another Shadow Complex, but then
Yeah.
Infinity
Great
Blade
game.
blew up and made $1 zillion, so I guess they're just doing that now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
a little resentful of those games.
All right.
Damn
We're
them.
going to open up the phones?
Yeah, so we're going to do something we haven't done yet here on 8-Bits, and we encourage you guys, any of the topics that we discussed, obviously a lot of the hot topics, I think some of the questions that I would throw out to, to the audience out there would be like, has the Xbox One policy reversals influenced you to, say, pre-order if you were at one point not going to? I'd love to hear from anyone who had their mind changed as a result. So the way you contact the show is pretty easy. Just pick up your phone, 909-581-8519. And in the meanwhile, I guess while we wait and see if anyone wants to call in tonight, what's next week looking like? Any games that we're excited for? I know post E3
Company of
again
Heroes is coming out. I know that.
Okay.
I think that's the big release of the week.
Let me head over to giantbomb.com and
go to
take a look at the new releases page.
There you go.
It's funny that is where I go every week to look because I don't know where else the fuck to go.
I'll bring it up too.
Let's see. Next week, I guess Company Heroes 2 is probably the biggest release. Game & Wario's coming out on the Wii U, but I haven't heard great things about that.
We had that new Luigi thing come out this week.
Yes.
I haven't picked it up yet, but I saw some tweets from Philip Kohler of Polygon saying it was actually really, really hard.
I saw that too. Like, I guess all the stages
which
have
game was hard?
It's basically a big DLC package for New Super Mario Brothers U for the Wii U.
It's $20, I think.
Yeah.
For the DLC.
Does it remake the whole game? Is it like a whole new
I
set of
think
levels?
it's like 40 new levels or something like that. Yeah.
It better be pretty stiff for $20,
Yeah. And I think they reduced all of the time per level is now reduced to 100 seconds across the board, which
saw that, yeah.
Like I ran out of time a lot of those levels with 300 seconds, so that must be like a really, really tough DLC. But
all right, we got our first
not for
callers
me.
here. We're going to take area code 609. Hello, welcome to 8-Bits. What's your question? Hello. They didn't want to talk to you, JP.
They didn't want to talk.
We
Scared
got
them off.
area code 409. Hello, welcome to 8-Bits. What's your question?
What was the question that you posed?
Well, I guess the question I had posed to most people out there was whether or not the Xbox policy changes changed your mind about pre-ordering Xbox One.
They changed my mind as to the advice that I give to people, but I had already pre-ordered a PS4, so it came just a little bit too late for me.
So your advice to people changed? That's what you said?
Yeah, if someone asked me what I think, I would say that it's really personal preference. But as for me, I had already pre-ordered, so it was a little too late for me.
I got you. All right.
Interesting.
All right. Well, thank you for your comment.
That is kind of the nice thing about them flattening those policies is that it does level the playing field again, right? Like
It really does.
You don't have to make your choice based on draconian business plans anymore. It's a lot more again about like which ecosystem do you like better, which infrastructure online is more to your taste. So.
And by the way, callers can have their own question. You don't just have to answer the one we post.
Yeah,
Just throwing that
yeah.
out there. Just throwing that out there.
Maybe I didn't make
You
that clear.
confused them,
Anything
You confused
you
them.
guys would like to talk about, as obviously as it relates to video games. So
Yeah.
All right, we've got area code 951. Hello, welcome to 8 Bits. What's up?
Hey, you still inquiring about the Xbox policy change?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? Did it change your mind?
Actually, it didn't. It kind of made me do the opposite. I'm kind of going with PS4 now, just because I felt like they were making such a bold statement that there had to be a reason for it. So since they changed it, they kind of went against their guns. They kind of bucked away and kind of ran away with their tail between their legs. So,
That's an interesting perspective.
Are you? Can you give us an idea on sort of what your console ownership has been for the previous generation? Like, do you own both a 360 and a PS3?
I actually do own both. I own a PS3, 360, and a Wii. I've owned pretty much every system that's ever existed. But with this one, the next generation, I was just going to go with one. So now I'm kind of leaning more towards the PS4 than the 360 or the Xbox One or whatever it's called now.
What do you do most of your gaming on right now?
360.
Okay, that's interesting.
Interesting.
You're not at all worried about maybe losing some of the live capabilities that obviously 360 users really enjoy having.
That's one of the things that kind of has me a little apprehensive, but I just really don't like the whole backing away from the policy change thing. Like,
right?
Just if you're gonna do something, stick with your guns and go for it. Like sometimes things that happen to make progress or some things that happen to make regressions have to happen, and you can't make a progress. Like you never know how it's going to be. With phones always being online and other things always being online, and it's part of our daily life now.
Yeah.
You never know if that new DRM that they were going to do is going to be a part of our daily life, and now they're just kind of backing away, and they kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth.
Well, thank you for your comments, man.
For most people. All right, definitely.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I actually haven't heard as many people go that route. Brad, you seem like a little bit skeptical, maybe of his thoughts.
That's just well, I mean, I think that's a valid interpretation. It's just the first time I've heard it. When the day the news dropped, we all kind of sat around, sort of, trying to intuit what's the response to this going to be, and there was some element of like, because my first impression was, all right, everybody's going to be happy now that they're getting rid of this stuff, but there was some sense of people feeling like, they're not confident in what they're doing anymore. They're just pandering. Like who knows what they'll do later if they're willing to make a big change like this now. So, obviously it bought them a lot of goodwill, but maybe it won't be enough.
All right, let's take. We got enough time for a couple more callers. We're gonna take.
Sure. And you please ask your own question.
We're gonna take this guy. This guy's a buddy of mine, Justin. Hello, Justin. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Marcus?
It's going good.
My question's for all of you guys, but recently on the Bombcast, Brad and I think Patrick and the crew had talked about digital rights and sort of what happens with all of this stuff, as far as like, for instance, on the 3DS, if I lose my 3DS, there's no easy way for me to get that stuff back. And I kind of just wanted to get you guys' perspective on how you feel about the all-digital future. And, Apple has done good things as far as being able to re-download, software and items that you purchased previously, but that hasn't always been the case. And I'm a little nervous personally about moving into, a future with Microsoft and Sony, and they haven't really proven to me that I'll be able to move my stuff, move my purchases to the next iteration of these consoles.
I do want to just comment, because I recently upgraded my PS3. I was on an old school guy. I was finding like, shit, I'm on PlayStation Plus now. I need that 300 gigabyte, hard drive. And so that was one of my biggest concerns, is that like, my God, my PlayStation network library is huge. And at least PlayStation has a model very similar to Apple in that you can basically browse through everything that you have ever purchased that you have the right to. Now, Sony also had that thing where you could only download it X number of times because they had some problems with game sharing. I'm not sure if this is still the case. There could still be some limits right there, but I know, like, in terms of both Apple and Sony, I've definitely utilized their sort of look at your list of what your digital assets are and go nuts. I would assume that Microsoft is going to have something very similar where, and maybe they already do. I haven't done as many digital purchases on Xbox Live to know.
Yeah, there's also a download history on the 360 that you can go through and get to anything that that you've purchased before. I mean, yeah, you are right to be a little skittish about this stuff because there hasn't been a large scale example yet of what happens when an entire ecosystem goes away. You know, if somebody flipped a switch tomorrow and Valve no longer existed, what would happen to the hundreds or thousands of dollars? Yeah, so it's like nobody's really come out and addressed it because again, it hasn't presented itself yet. But I feel like the longer these things go on, you know, the more cycles of hardware we go through where we've got purchases on like 2-generation old systems and stuff, the more they're going to have to come out and explicitly address like, all right, here's how many years we're going to keep the downloads for 360 available, you know, and they need to message like, all right, we're taking them all offline tomorrow, download your shit today. It's kind of a sticky situation that we haven't really seen the end of yet.
And that's one thing that in any sort of digital media, like right now, I am buying into Ultraviolet and Vudu in a major way. Like I love to have my library of movies on my smart TV or on my iPad, no matter where the fuck I go. However, like I just am, as a consumer, putting my trust into this company that in 7 years I will still have access to all this content. Now, most of these are unlocked through like Blu-ray, right? I buy the Blu-ray, you get access to the digital copy, which I totally love. But because I've been using that system more and more, I've found myself buying more digital movies. My wife and I wanted to watch Sneakers the other day. We didn't own it, so it's like shit. You know, $7, I'm in. I own that movie for $7, but in 10 years, is there a guarantee that movie will still be there? I don't know.
Weird.
When Jack Bauer can't stop that fucking Russian EMP that takes out all the electronics in the U.S., I might be shit out of luck. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to imagine. Like I don't know that anybody's done the homework on this, but I have to imagine in the the 100-page user agreement that you go through when you buy stuff like that
Right.
They have, I'm sure they've covered their asses, you know, I'm sure there's no legal precedent that I'm aware of yet as to, you know, how long do you own something that you buy digitally? You know, do you own the thing? Do you just have a license to watch it X number of times?
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of a big question mark for a long time.
I mean, even in me and Marcus's industry in esports, we saw that happen somewhat with when Own TV shut down, and they didn't even give anyone. They gave everyone 24 hours. It's like your VODs are gone in 24 hours. Like download them now, and that's the kind of shit that could happen with like these digital purchases. You know, I don't think it ever will because it would just be like a. People would just fucking destroy Valve, and Gabe would just have to like go somewhere else in the world.
I'm gonna have to have like 4 PS3s just to like have the capacity for all the stuff. Like, oh no, that's on PS3 4. Like I'll build its own carrier that will rotate and automatically plug in. It'll be great.
I think the nightmare scenario. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that they've almost got me on the hook for buying a new Xbox even at $300, simply because I've got hundreds and hundreds of dollars sunk into Live Arcade that isn't going to transfer over to the Xbox One because of the architecture change. And when this thing inevitably dies because it's on its way out, I mean it doesn't even eject the disc half the time. I'm going to be eventually shit out of luck, but I can still pull out my working NES that I got when I was 4 and play all of those games. That thing works fine still.
Yeah. Well, as everyone moves forward, certainly this has to be like a concern. Eventually, consumers are going to wisen up. People are going to start experiencing what the digital cloud lifestyle is like. People are eventually going to say, what if, what if, what if? So I imagine that this topic is going to be coming up a lot more as we, continue to take this journey into digital entertainment and beyond. But, now's the time for sure. So I don't. Any other thoughts for Justin, you guys?
No. I would just say the nightmare scenario, like you mentioned, Valve. Valve is a very healthy company with a quite significant revenue stream. But the scary part is where you have something like Owned, where there's going out of business. Like if there's no more money to maintain the infrastructure and keep the network up, like there's no money, there's no employees. It's just going to vanish one day. So that's the scary part, where you have this very short window to actually secure your stuff before it's just gone.
Well, and additionally, I'm noticing a trend in digital, digital companies, let's just say, vying for market space in the same way that like a new format does. I mean, you think about VHS and Betamax, right? Well, VHS won and Betamax lost. And right now, there are actually 6 different movie streaming services out there like Ultraviolet and all these other ones. But which one's going to come out on top, right? A lot of them have been sharing, you know, the back and forth, but you know, I think a lot of them are sort of fighting for that space right now. So.
Yeah, that's the main reason that I've been a lot more interested in platform agnostic services like Netflix and stuff like that than buying into, like, you know, Microsoft's got Zune, you know, there's iTunes on Apple.
Right.
Like I don't want to hitch my wagon to a hardware platform. You know, I want something that spans across all those devices, and especially with something not like Netflix, you know, you're just paying a fee for a service, you know. So if Netflix went away, you know, I would feel like I had gotten my money's worth, even though I don't have anything to take away from that. Whereas, you know, if Apple imploded and I lost all my iTunes purchases, that's a lot more unfortunate.
Right, right. Which also brings up the last point about this. Sorry, Justin, you're welcome to go anytime. I guess it's just an interesting conversation to me, but that's also one of the reasons why I probably will never switch to Android. Because I can't justify giving up every single purchase that I've made on the Apple Store. So as we move to digital architecture even more, if I buy more games on one platform, but then suddenly the next generation comes around and maybe that company doesn't exist, maybe they're choosing not to make another version of hardware or something like that, where does that leave me? And there's still a lot of unknowns as far as it's concerned, but I think it's exciting as hell. So,
yeah.
Great.
Interesting times.
Yeah. Justin, thank you so much for your call, man.
Yeah, thanks for taking the next few thoughts, guys.
Take care, man.
Good caller. Good call.
Yeah, I love Justin. He's a great guy. So that's actually probably going to be it for us. We should think about wrapping things up, guys. Sure. So who wants to kick off with our final thoughts?
Let Brad go first since he is the guest here.
Oh, no. What are we final thoughting about?
I don't know, man. Whatever you want. Promote what you want. Talk about whatever you want.
You know what? I have felt pretty cynical about the game industry for a while now, and coming out of E3, like, I'm really feeling positive again, you know, that's for a whole lot of reasons. I mean, you know, the Microsoft DRM stuff was what it was, but, you know, that has leveled out. But more than that, it was going to E3, and it's like, you know, Call of Duty was there, Battlefield was there, but there weren't 5 other also ran military brown shooters, you know. I feel like things are diversifying, you know, like you had The Witcher there was taking some ideas from Skyrim, and you see a lot of indie games all over the place. Like there's stuff like State of Decay happening, like all these different philosophies in game design are taking root, and like I feel like people are being served a lot more diversely than they have been in the last few years. Same thing with, you know, the different distribution platforms are getting really interesting. There are these leaks that Steam may start allowing you to lend games to people in the future.
Yeah,
you know, like
that
I feel
would
like
be wild, man.
I feel like the way people are competing with each other and trying a lot of different stuff is just, it's making things really exciting right now.
Awesome.
And who doesn't love a good console war, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the most
man.
exciting
Oh my god,
thing
and it's
right
getting
now.
so dirty, you know, with Sony
It's
going
so
out
awesome to
there
see.
making these basically making political attack ads on YouTube and then Microsoft firing back, going like, oh, look what we got, you know. It's just like it's really fun to watch.
Look, if Adam Boyes gets to make any more new videos like the one where he leaves shoe, then I'm all for this console.
I saw him posting this morning. That video's been watched like the equivalent of 9 years by now.
Oh my god.
And it's like a 30-second
and it's a very short video.
That's
Oh god, that's the best part.
JP?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll see you guys next week. I mean, I'm here every week, so you can get my thoughts then.
No, you won't.
Uh-oh, he's kicking me off the show.
No, you're going to be at MLG.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to be there too.
Look, we're still going to do the show. We don't know what.
Are we? All right.
Fuck the broadcast, dude. We're
Well,
just
that's
going
gonna
to
work,
start
but-
talking about 8-bits. So yeah, I guess no show next week then. I guess that's something we should talk about. Maybe we'll try to do it on. Well, I'm there Tuesday, so we'll have to do it like Monday or Tuesday if we even do a show. But I doubt that'll happen. This weekend I'll be playing Final Fantasy as much as they'll let me because I'm
You
fucking
can't
addicted.
stream it though yet, right?
No, you still can't stream it. And it's actually so smart, man. I think that's like the smartest deal. It still has it's pretty easy to get a key, but it still has that like realm of exclusivity around it where you want that key, right? You still want to be able to see what it's like.
Right.
And I think that's smart from Square Enix. I think I'll be on the Cactar server, I think is what it is.
Good choice.
Yeah, Man vs. Game has his guild there, or his link shell there. So if you want to come hang out,
Oh God!
I'll probably make a new character because I think I'm already tired of Archer. But other than that, I'll just be playing that. And I think what were we gonna play Sunday?
I think we're gonna play some Infinite Crisis on Sunday.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll check that out.
we've got a few keys we'll be giving away, and we'll see what all the hubbub's about. So
Cool. Yeah, and then I guess last off, huge shout out to Brad for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
yeah,
It's a ton
for
of fun.
sure. For sure.
Hopefully we didn't cover too much stuff that Giant Bomb does every week.
No.
And I guess that's it. Also, I guess you guys are doing Patrick's last show today, right?
Yes. If you're a premium Giant Bomb member, today's Patrick's last day in the office. So I'm not quite sure how we'll be sending him off yet, but it should be interesting. So
Cool.
check that out.
I'm sure you guys have something special planned for him, right?
Something booze fueled, I'm sure.
There you go. I don't have much to say other than check us out on Sunday. We'll have some fun and play with you guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of 8 Bits. I think we're still trying to find the ground and run with it. But you guys have given some great suggestions and feedbacks, and we welcome it.
Keep
so
doing that, please.
Please,
That's
it's
awesome.
great. It helps us a ton. You can follow us at Twitter at djWHEAT, at itmeJP, or even at Brad Shoemaker. And that's all I have. We'll see you this weekend streaming on personal sites. JP, have fun with Final Fantasy 14. I'll be finishing up The Last of Us. I'm really excited to do that. So, again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another episode of 8 Bits. We're out of here. Peace.
Bye-bye.